Welcome to this special edition of the Commissioner's Corner podcast. We've got a special show here tonight as we are inducting 12 fantastic Madden Bomber League players into the MBL Players Hall of Fame. These are guys that are very special to us as a league. They are created players, which means they were drafted by our owners. They took the time to go out and scout and find out players that would fit into their teams, their schemes, and they just had incredible careers, and they played at such a high level that they are worthy of being a MBL Hall of Famer to be remembered for a very long time. I'm here tonight joined with Bomber, and we're just going to jump right into it.
Yeah, this is going to be our annual show. So at the end of the cycle, we're going to do this hopefully every Madden season, that every cycle that ends. And I'm really excited to see who is going to be the snub. That's what I always like, get into the controversy. I mean, last year we had 2 or 3 snubs that were like, how come they didn't get in? You know, October had that just stud wide receiver. And this year I'm looking to see who it is because I kind of know the core. I feel like I know the core. I feel like there's 5, 6 guys that I'm pretty sure are going to get in. But since we're inducting 12 guys a day, I'm curious to see the other 6, and I'm curious to see the ones that didn't make it.
Yeah, there are plenty of talented guys out there at many positions who had great careers, but they just did not have enough to make it into the MBL Players Hall of Fame. So we're going to jump off right now, and this first guy, the very first member of the Madden 2016 MBL Players Hall of Fame, he was a cornerback, and he played for the Denver Broncos. He came into a defense that already had Talib and Harris at corner. He learned from them, and he played phenomenal football for the Denver Broncos. So we're going to start off with our first member of the MBL Players Hall of Fame.
Drum roll.
Cornerback Jawan Brian.
Oh, congratulations, Jawan Brian. He appeared in he had one Super Bowl appearance in Madden. He was a 5-time Pro Bowl with 132 tackles, 28 interceptions on his career. And if you don't remember, when Backley drafted this guy, he was in need of a cornerback because, you know, Talib was getting older, right? He had Chris Harris Jr., but he needed some youth to come in there and really just solidify because he was going against such a high passing offense with DK and Prince in his division, right? And that other guy. So basically, Jawan Brown came in there and just locked him down. He took him to a Super Bowl, and this is well-deserving for a Hall of Fame player, Hall of Fame inductee.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely a guy that he actually is still continuing to coach up their younger secondary players. Just an all-around great guy and a great member of our Hall of Fame. So, moving on here, we have another cornerback.
Uh-oh.
This cornerback was part of a draft class that loaded up a very weak Steelers secondary, and they came in and they played as rookies, ended up capturing a Super Bowl, and is a very important part to the Pittsburgh Steelers defense. And our second member of the MBL Players Hall of Fame this year will be cornerback Keelin Griffin.
Keelin Griffin was a 5-time MBL Pro Bowler. His Super Bowl win versus the Detroit Lions is near and dear to my heart because I remember I've never, and quote me on this, seen Calvin Johnson get locked up like he did when he went against this young buck. I believe he was in his rookie year, Lip. Was it his rookie year?
It was his rookie year.
His rookie year, this rookie number. I said, who's 27? He locked him up, shut him down. The Steelers went on to win that Super Bowl. So he has a Super Bowl win, and he tallied 130 tackles in his career with 26 interceptions. And I believe he had one in the Super Bowl against Stafford.
He did, and it's just one of those guys that future years down the road we will remember that game, that Super Bowl, and his performance.
Yeah, definitely a great player.
Absolutely. So we're going to move on here, and we actually have another guy that you'll enjoy talking about. It also involves that Super Bowl game that we just talked about. So our third member of the MBL Players Hall of Fame. It is another cornerback. It's the last of our cornerbacks, but it is a very special player. This is a player that locked down wide receivers all over the place, made the Detroit Lions one of the best defenses over the last year, and we are talking about cornerback Le'Veon Barber.
Okay, and first of all, I want to tell our listeners that this is not going in any particular order, so don't think we're going through cornerbacks and defense. That just happened how it fall. We kind of put it in more of a dramatic fashion, so just stay with us on this one. But cornerback Le'Veon Barber, he had 2 Super Bowl wins, 129 tackles, 27 interceptions, number 33 for the Detroit Lions. 6 years experience, was a 4-time MBL Pro Bowler, and he gave us some great years out there, and particularly in the playoffs, he was just a big-time player. You know, he paired up next to Big Play Slay, and they made it happen over there on the defensive end, and they were just great for my secondary throughout this Madden.
Yeah, they definitely were. I think that I know that over there in Pittsburgh, they remember the interception that he took back for a touchdown in the Super Bowl. And a player with 2 Super Bowl wins, he is definitely one that will live on forever. So we're going to move on now, and we have a very special guy who played quarterback for the Washington Redskins. We all know that the Redskins needed a quarterback over the last year, and this guy came in and he just lit it up. They had such a powerful offense that a lot of people really struggled to contain them, and this was the guy that spearheaded that offensive development for so many great players, and even a few that may or may not have made it into the Hall of Fame. But we're talking about quarterback for the Washington Redskins, Gavin Dennis.
Definitely deserving, great numbers on paper. Hasn't gotten as much done in the playoffs as he's hoped, even though he's still in the playoffs right now, and he's pursuing that championship in our final year, MBL Season 18. But quarterback and now MBL Player Hall of Famer, Gavin the Menace Dennis. Let me get it right. 18,663 passing yards with a career QBR of 110, 68% passing completion, 5 years in the MBL, and made the Pro Bowl 4 times. Congratulations to Doughboy and his quarterback, Gavin the Menace Dennis.
Yeah, definitely a special player, and congratulations on being an MBL Hall of Famer.
Are you looking for affordable graphic design? Well, the Madden Bomber League has you covered. Our sponsor at web3ks.com can do anything you want. They always go, Bomber, where'd you get those intros? Web3ks.com. Bomber, where'd you get them graphics? Web3ks.com. So you guys need to check it out. If you run a CFM, if you got a Twitter account, if you got a YouTube account, and you're looking for some nice, clean, affordable graphics, go to web3ks.com, and he will fulfill all your graphics needs. All right, guys, and we are back, and we just gave 4 of the MBL Player Hall of Fame inductees, and now we're about to give you 4 more. We're going to go to a break, and then we're going to do the final 4. Lip, what you got for us right now?
Well, this guy, not a lot of people may have had this guy on the radar, but I tell you, he was just an absolute monster. He came in and he developed insanely fast and was one of the best and most consistent players that we've seen over the last year. And just looking at his year-by-year totals, this guy was a defensive monster. We are talking about defensive end for the Buffalo Bills, Thaddeus Skinner.
Yeah, big congrats to Jamzel with Thaddeus Skinner getting inducted. I know a lot of players played him, and they were like, man, that's some old man strength out there. But I know he looks old, but he's only been in the league 3 years, 3-time Pro Bowler for the MBL, 28 tackles for losses on his career, 141 total tackles, and 35.5 sacks on his career. This guy has been a monster so far, averaging over 10-plus sacks per season. That's right end Thaddeus Skinner from the Buffalo Bills. Congratulations again to Jamzel.
Yeah, anytime that you can put up double-digit sacks consistently, we're definitely
punching you in.
Eric Payne numbers, and now Thaddeus Skinner's right there along with him.
Yeah, definitely.
So that's a good transition point, talking about Eric Payne as our next guy. Now, here's another guy that was only here for a short time, but he made his impact felt, and this is one of the definitions of consistency as far as players go, and he just had a combination of disgusting route running speed and just crazy athletic ability, and he went to a team when they desperately needed a wide receiver, and he fit in perfectly, and he brought this offense back to life, and we are talking about wide receiver for the Seattle Seahawks, Spencer Mays.
Yeah, Jay Baston, Justin, however you know him as. He's the one who had Eric Payne, so that was the transition into this. If you didn't catch that, you weren't here from previous Maddens. But this wide receiver, Spencer Mays, 3 years in the league, that's all. He made it to the Pro Bowl every year, 3 years. He has 198 receptions, 3,333 yards for this stud. And, I mean, did he do that on purpose? I don't know. 39 touchdowns total. He just dominated in the 3 years he was here. And mind you, you have to have played 3 full years in the MBL to qualify, to even qualify for the MBL Players Hall of Fame, to even be brought up in our filter. So he barely made the cut, but he had a long-lasting impact on his team, and that's why he actually got inducted into the MBL Players Hall of Fame. So congratulations to Justin Baston from the owner of the Seattle Seahawks. Wide receiver Spencer Mays is inducted into the MBL Players Hall of Fame for Madden 16.
Yeah, and whenever you talk about the consistency that we look for, I believe he had in 3 years 14 touchdowns, and then 12 this last year. And that is some high production for a young guy, and he is definitely deserving of this Hall of Fame spot. So we talked about Gavin Dennis a little earlier, and now we're going to be talking about the guy on the opposite end of this incredible offensive duo. This guy was part of the offense that was just extremely hard to stop. He was just a freak coming out of college, and his numbers are just as freakish as he is physically and athletically. So for the Washington Redskins, we are talking about wide receiver, MBL Player Hall of Famer, Drew Williams.
Drew Williams is a stud. 4 years in the MBL, 4-time Pro Bowler. This guy had 44 touchdowns over his career, 5,158 yards on 218 receptions. And the one thing that I loved about Drew Williams, and this is what made him so dynamic, is he could beat you over the top and he could beat you underneath. He can beat you with his legs on many different routes in many different ways, and that's what made him so dominant for Doughboy and the Washington Redskins. And it probably is the reason Gavin Dennis is here, because I don't see him in here without Drew Williams. I think Drew Williams was the key to that relationship, even though I think Gavin Dennis is obviously a Hall of Famer and a great player, but Drew Williams was an exceptional player. He's probably one of my top 2 in this class. But congratulations to Drew Williams and Doughboy on making the MBL Players Hall of Fame for Madden 16.
Absolutely, they were fantastic together. I don't know. I think there might be one other combination in this league of quarterback wide receiver, but I mean, this might be the only created players duo that was just incredibly dangerous the way they were. So moving on here, we've got another quarterback, and this guy has just had a phenomenal career, and he fell short twice, but he has still had the consistency, the numbers, the division wins, the playoff appearances. Just a great leader for the San Diego Chargers, and we're obviously talking about quarterback Anthony Spriggs.
Congratulations, DK, and the San Diego Chargers with quarterback Anthony Spriggs being inducted. Spriggs had 5 years experience in the Madden Bomber League, 4-time Pro Bowler, went to 2 Super Bowl appearances. That means he was a 2-time AFC champion. QBR career total of 111, 18,491 passing yards with 146 touchdowns. He might be built like an offensive lineman, and that's why they called him Fat Anthony, but he sure could throw that ball.
Yeah, he absolutely could, and we watched him go on a couple playoff runs. Couldn't quite get it done, but was just a fantastic leader for this team, and one of those guys that will live on forever and be recognized as just a great MBL player.
Looking for Madden Bomber League history, content, and news? Go to 365.maddenbomberleague.com. Don't forget to give us a follow on Twitter @BomberLeague and hit that like button and that subscribe on our MBL Network YouTube channel and support one of the fastest growing leagues in the Madden community. All right, what's up, MBL? This is the final segment, the final 4 and this ain't the NCAA. This is the MBL. This is our Final Four countdown for the Players Hall of Fame. Lip, start us off, baby.
All right, well, this next guy, we all know that he was just, we've watched him on MBL Live quite a bit, just tearing things up, and he had quite the quarterback to work with. We've seen him be part of a high-powered offense with a lot of stars, and he got a lot of attention, and over a great career, he just put up in fantastic numbers. And we are, of course, talking about wide receiver from the New York Giants, Brian Mason.
Yeah, Brian Mason was my 1B rated wide receiver before we started this when I was thinking who's going to make it, and he was definitely my shoo-in. He got to play alongside an NBL great, Odell Beckham Jr. He was 5 years in the NBL, 4-year Pro Bowl. He has 1 Super Bowl win, 284 receptions, 4,832 yards with 51 touchdowns. Now, I just imagine this, Lip. This is the conversation I want to bring in. If Brian Mason didn't have Odell Beckham Jr. next to him, how good would he have been? Would he have been better than Matt Hopkins? How much better would he have been than Drew Williams?
Yeah, that is definitely one of the topics of discussion.
I mean, an obvious shoo-in Hall of Famer right now, MBL Player Hall of Famer, without question.
Oh,
but
yeah.
I'm saying we see this potential, and I'm like, man, it's almost like if Randy Moss had to spend his whole career next to Chris Carter, kind of, In that sense, it's like, that guy's that good, he's this good. How great would he be if he was just a solo, obvious number one target?
Yeah, and even with Odell Beckham there, they still had, I believe, Aaron Coleman at tight end.
Oh, yeah, a stud tight end. I mean, obviously comparable to Vernon Davis in his prime, so you had 3 options there where he's sharing the load. So I think his numbers, as great as they are, and I'm not knocking his number. I mean, we have 4,832 receiving yards, 51 touchdowns. I believe that puts him in the top 2 of our receiving core right now. So, I mean, I'm not knocking his numbers. I'm just saying, imagine if we shaved off some of those balls going to Odell Beckham that easily could have went to Brian Mason, or those passes that went to Aaron Coleman those first couple of years he was in the league. He was the heavy target for Ryan Nassib when he was playing quarterback for New York. But you saw when Teddy Bridgewater came in, Brian Mason became a stud, and it was just like, I just always was thinking, man, if he didn't have anybody to next him as good as Odell Beckham, his numbers would be insane right now. He'd be just destroying the league.
Yeah, absolutely. And even with Odell Beckham there, he is an MBL Hall of Famer. Now, the next guy that we're talking about, earlier we talked about a couple guys that completely changed an offense or a defense, and they made the side of the ball that they were on completely different and opened up so much more potential that wasn't there before them, and without them it would be completely different. And this guy, I definitely know that whenever he came into this offense, he completely changed what the offense could do, because they had one target that they could do one thing, and then they had this guy that could do everything else. It was a great combination, and it was part of one of the most powerful offenses and consistently powerful offenses that we've ever seen. And this is where we're talking about wide receiver for the Detroit Lions, Matt Hopkins.
Yeah, they call him Matt I Don't Drop Hopkins. This guy, let me give you a little backstory on Matt Hopkins and a little insight into why he became a Detroit Lion. We just came off a Super Bowl loss to the Pittsburgh Steelers. We had a lot of issues getting wide receivers open. We were running with Calvin Johnson, Golden Tate, and Corey Fuller in the slot, and we just didn't have the athleticism. We needed a Deshaun Jackson. We needed somebody with the speed and athleticism to get over top, but also get open underneath against man coverage. So we drafted this little tiny man, Matt Hopkins, and he got us a Super Bowl win. He was a 4-time Pro Bowler, had 276 career receptions, 5,339 receiving yards, along with 36 touchdowns. And he was definitely our best player on offense and the number 1 target for Matthew Stafford in his 4 years as a Detroit Lion. So congratulations to Matt Hopkins. You have been inducted into the MBL Players Hall of Fame for Madden 16.
Yeah, he was definitely a complete game changer for the Detroit Lions offense. And when we talk about guys who changed the game, he was very consistent. And moving on, this next guy is one of the harder things to do and be consistent at it. Just an impressive stretch, an impressive career, and he did a lot of things that just were very impressive, and he was consistent, and he was very important to the defense, especially getting pressure, clogging up the run, and making sure that his team could get the ball back on offense. And we'll talk about the consistency here, but we are talking about the New England Patriots defensive tackle, C.J. Lewis.
C.J. Lewis, he was known around the locker room as Mr. Smooth, a.k.a. Mr. Finesse. This guy was a game changer, and if you want to talk about a guy who had stats similar to Eric Payne, but yet a completely different player, as Payne was a power move, power player, and C.J. Lewis was a finesse player. So two different types of D tackles and defensive ends that attack the offensive line, but they got the job done. C.J. Lewis had over 10 sacks every year he played. He was a 5-time Pro Bowler, spent 5 years in the MBL, 35 tackles for loss, 178 total tackles, and 51 career sacks. And he was just a monster. I mean, since day one, straight out the gate. So if you draft somebody and you want them to be ready to start day one starter, he was the guy that they were looking for, and that's exactly what you got with C.J. Lewis. So congratulations to Jay Moon on his defensive tackle, C.J. Lewis, being inducted to the MBL Players Hall of Fame for Madden 16.
Yeah, and the thing is, the thing that people talked about with him was he was the guy that would have a lot of the stats that you don't see. You know, he would take up a couple blocks so that his, defensive line mate could go get a sack. But then he also had the impressive stats to go with that. He was just a fantastic player and the absolute best standout defensive lineman in the NBL.
I want to ask the viewers in the NBL that were here during the time, C.J. Lewis or Eric Payne? I mean, for those who played against him, those in the division, we got Delvar up there, we got Jamzel, anybody in the AFC really. If you played against Eric Payne and you played against C.J. Lewis, I want to hear your guys' thoughts on who was the better defensive lineman, and who do you think was more impactful on the field? And I know Justin's going to be, he's over there saying Payne already. I can hear it. But for the most part, I'd like to know. I mean, I think this guy played such a consistent game that it was comparable on paper to what Eric Payne was doing.
Absolutely, they were both. I remember playing Payne. Just not a very fun experience. He was a monster. And,
yeah.
And you really had to pay attention and game plan for him. And C.J. Lewis was the exact same way. So we're here down to the 12th member, the final member of the MBL Players Hall of Fame, and this is a guy that was incredibly impressive during his short time here. And we talked about how Spriggs was kind of the great leader. I think that this guy just knew how to win. Like, he, no matter what, he just found a way to win and get his team in a position that they could win and score. And
from day one,
he just had that fire.
He did it from day one too.
Absolutely.
From day one, and he was quoted on saying, before we give out the name of who it is, I want to give people an opportunity to guess here. He was quoted as saying, "What do you do in the off season?" He goes, "I bale hay and I drink beer." Now, if you don't know who that is right now, you don't pay attention to Madden Bomber League. Because we all know when you look at this picture, it says 1,000 words. And that's one of the statements he gave the press when he was headed into an offseason. He bales hay and he drinks beer. So we can go ahead and give the name. Yeah, let's give the name.
Sounds like a great guy. He is a
great
great
guy.
guy.
I want to hang out with.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we're talking about quarterback of the Atlanta Falcons, Joey Bell.
Congratulations. I think might be the one of. I mean, I don't like to say the best ever. You got Gresham. You have so many greats. Trent Redmond. But I mean, I would love to see Trent Redmond and Joey Bell head to head in a throwing competition in the summer. No pads. I want to see them hit them moving targets in Orlando. I want to see if they can do it, man. But Joey Bell, MBL Players Hall of Fame for Madden 16. Congratulations, one and only. 3 years experience, 3-time Pro Bowler, 73% completion in his passes. Averaged a 126 QBR. 126 QBR for his career. 11,807 passing yards with touchdowns. On the button. Did he do that on purpose? I don't know. Probably. It is Joey Bell.
Yeah, definitely a great career from not just Joey Bell, but all of these guys. You have guys from all over the field impacting the game in a different way, and it's just fantastic to take some time and look at their careers, look at their impact on their team and the MBL. And we know from doing this last year that it's very nice to go back and look and remember the stories. You're gonna have we're gonna be talking about Joey Bell many years from now. We're gonna be talking about we're actually still talking about Justin's kicker from last year that did not make it in. So it's just a very special thing. It's a great achievement, and congratulations to the 12 new members of the MBL Players Hall of Fame.
All right, guys, so that's the 12th MBL Player Hall of Fame inductees for this Madden 16. I'm sure the podcasts are going to be going crazy. J-Wax getting his podcast up. He's probably going to be talking snubs. You got the Extra Point podcast with Project Fat. He's going to be talking snubs to this list. Go ahead and let us know what you think, and let us know who you think got snubbed and who should have been in there and who shouldn't have been in there. We definitely like to hear it. And once again, MBL, the network, is sponsored by web3ks.com. And they just basically give you any kind of graphic you want. They'll meet all your creative needs, and best of all, they're affordable price. So you get affordable pricing for all your creative needs at web3ks.com, and you can follow him on Twitter at allbusiness. Also, don't forget to follow MBL on Twitter at Bomber League, and subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. And thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you soon.